In the history of cryptocurrency, there are times when things that came after them mark the story of a new era. Story, belief, and conviction can all come together so strongly at times that a new framework forms. It's one of those days today. A lot of people are talking about GCR, the mystery whale that is known for being right on the mark. He has finally said something. He put up one chart in a secret route that was encrypted and only people in the group knew about. How to get XRP to a market worth a 10 trillion. The cap is easy to see on that graph. That cap comes with a price goal that will scare off doubters and boost hope. One XRP is worth $100,000. This isn't just a guess, say people who saw the map. You should be aware of this and act quickly if you believe that the next societal flow will happen anyway. What does GCR stand for? You need to know how important what he said is in order to understand why this is important, which had names like the whale, huge rebirth, and GCR Classic began small, quickly became well-known wins known as major macro events before most others, and then often went away just as markets were set. He was right about the crash of 2022, the failure of altcoins, and the past trends that didn't go anywhere. They weren't just guesses, they were signs based on what insiders knew, how the market worked and how it moved, institutional whispers, and regulatory undercurrents. Big money groups pay attention to what GCR says because he has a good track record. A lot of people didn't see the chart when it came out. You might think it was just a wish, but they saw it as a real forecast. Check out the chart. It shows different stages of growth. The president is talked about in the first part, which is called accumulation. Smart money is building up behind the scenes, and governmental pressure is rising, but isn't quite there yet. In the second step, catalyst activation, you get ready for the big money that's coming your way. It is possible for national wealth funds, hedge funds, and company treasuries to change the way their reserves are used. Maybe even banks will start to use XRP in their cross-border payment methods. The third step is now here, and it's called volume surge. Now is the time when traffic really picks up. Think about setting money, making small payments over the Internet of Things, and getting a loan. XRPPL ramps for global trade are also going to be very important. The market cap is then given trillions, and by the end, the market value should have hit an amazing 10 trillion. Have you been traveling for a long time? If you split that number in half, when you divide the fully moving or lightly locked supply by the number of units that are staked, locked up by institutions and developer team shares that don't move, you get about 100,000 per unit. Why do you think this idea is true? You can see a few posts already. Slowly, institutions' interest in XRP has been growing. This is due to clear rules, compliance tools, faster and more efficient XRPPL, and new features like hooks, trust, and sharing. All of these are important to this. Companies want to link to XRPL, and developers are making them on top of XRP. At the moment, people are talking about trade settlement projects and tests that the central bank is running with digital currencies. However, global conditions are good for digital assets that aren't tied to a country. A lot of people worry about inflation, falling currencies, depending too much on making more fiat money, and of course, geopolitical risk. These days, a lot of organizations are looking for options and safety nets. It is being talked about XRP because it has a strong ledger, an accepted system, and quick settlement. These numbers show still need to be careful looked at. The risk is very clear. Risk of lack of cash. Even if they want it, institutions will expect XRP to have a lot of buyers and sell-ups so that it doesn't slip. Risk of regulation. If some places think that reserve or institutional use could threaten their power over money, they might not let people use digital assets or put a lot of limits on them. Even though XRPL has shown that it can handle trillions of dollars every day, make sure that the people who are in charge are ready and that the system can be checked. Every single one of these parts needs to be very strong. The risk of how people see it is another thing, right? Bad news about a macro shock in the news, a hack or attack, or even stricter laws could all hurt trust very badly. How the market acts is also very important. It's possible that the price will drop if it rises too quickly without the infrastructure or real world use to back it up. But, GCR's estimate knows a lot about these risks. On the line, there are safe zones, stress tests, and even more times when acceptance is things move more slowly when rules are followed or when big shocks because the market's to drop for a while. Still, everything works out so that you can make a $100 and on that wave of systemic flood. In public talks and other events, GCR has talked about a few main ideas that help him see further than most people. First, it's important to flow. A lot of business addresses for moving things from inside to outside sales over the counter. These leave marks. Two, rules aren't always a pain. It can bring power and institutional ease. Third, stories make sense. It's important for people to really think that something is possible, and more people believe it as traders groups, lawmakers, and the media talk about XRP as a service or infrastructure. Four, there is no choice but to lower risk, follow parenting rules, and be honest about what's going on. To be honest, big money doesn't do anything without these. What does this really mean for the people who are watching? First, getting ready. If you think GCR is right, now is a good time to. It's late, as bulls say. In fact, the circle of society is just beginning. That's why it's so important to meet without being seen. You really want safe care, and you should know how much legal risk you're taking. Watch out for news, endorsements, partnerships, and changes that will make the system better. It's important to be ready for price changes because the path to 100 Zalozen won't be a straight one. It's likely that there will be downs and changes along the way, but once the flood starts, the good things could really outweigh the bad. To be clear, the picture on GCR is a flag. He means final, as in you can't go back. It looks like everything will work out with low interest rates around the world, unstable economies, rising prices, lots of debt, and a weak financial system. It's better to look at other choices. If banks decide that fiat reserve assets are too risky, they will start to look into digital choices. You might want to use XRP instead. When that time comes, GCR thinks that a lot of money will come in very quickly. It will be used quickly by big players, and then swaps, EDFs, funds, and banks will want to use it too. This is the big deal. How about getting there quickly? The time frame for GCR is shorter than it has been in the past. A lot of people believe that the statement will come true in 3 to 5 years when big amounts of money start to be changed at banks. Clear rules in big areas, more people using stable coins and tokenizing real world assets, more pressure on cross-border payments, and inflation are some early signs to keep an eye on trends. GCR seems to think that once a few well-known schools go public, many more will quickly follow suit. Folks will move very quickly if they don't want to miss out on something that seems useful for many years to come. Yes, a lack of supplies is part of the plan as well. You can't always make XRP worth less. The actual quantity can go down because of things like token unlock times, team assignments, and custodian lockups. There is a belief at GCR that many people who own XRP will keep it for a long time. This can be done through institutional lockup, staking trust, or other similar tools. It's for sale. Compared to the total supply, this makes the supply that is being used less. On the other hand, demand is going to rise very quickly. Not just from people who buy things, but also from businessy trade and everyday use. Really, it costs $100 per unit since there isn't enough to move and demand is rising. It's pretty interesting when you think about it. Let's think about how the story goes from here. This is a very important part that many people forget about. People say these things because they tell us what will happen, like forecasts. It's cool how these things are linked, isn't it? People listen to what GR says and things change when people